Okay, this is part 3 of our customizing a MetaHuman tutorial. We'll be going over transferring the skeleton, the body skeleton, and we'll also be covering taking all of our custom mesh and our blend shapes into Unreal and setting everything up. Enjoy.
All right, so I want to attach my MetaHuman skeleton to my Magneto body. So I need to move all of those joints into the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and show my joints. And I'm going to go ahead and my um, my DHI head is not necessary right now. So I'm going to hide it. Okay. And my DHI body root is actually going to be what I bind my character to, but it's not going to be what I move. I'm going to be moving my driver. Okay, so the root underscore DRV is actually what you're going to be moving. So this is the driver skeleton. This is connected to our skeleton. So we'll move the driver, and then once we're ready, we'll bind this body root. So let's go ahead and hide body root for now. When we move our driver, everything in body root will move at a 1-to-1. So no matter what we move here, we will be getting a 1-to-1 in our movement. So I want to show my body LOD 0, and I can see it's in this position. Now, something to note if you're sculpting your characters, that little bend in the elbow is not a bad thing to do, okay? It is not, as far as like trying to match the MetaHuman skeleton, it's that little bend forward is great. And you can even relax your fingers too if you'd like. All right, so I can see the position. Now I want to move this skeleton back to this position. And I'm only going to do one side. I've got a sweet little trick where we can copy our skin weights. We can basically duplicate this skeletal mesh and do a mirror joints, and then we can just copy and paste those values. It's a sweet little trick I learned along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and hide my head control. That's just a bunch of extra information I don't need. And I'll hide my body LOD 0. All right, so I'm going to do all of my work on what would be the skeleton's left-hand side. It's my screen, right? Another thing I want to do before we start is I want to grab my root. If I hold shift and hit the plus button on this joint chain, it'll expand all of my joints. I've got my root selected. I'm going to go ahead and go select and grab my hierarchy. And I want to go, so let's switch this to rigging. I want to go into my skeleton and I want to, maybe it's, I want to set my preferred angle. Where is that at? I swear it's in skeleton. There we go, set preferred angle. All right, now this is going to be on my rotational axis. So this is going to set my preferred angle. So then when I say assume preferred angle, it's going to pop back to this. I want this skeleton, it's going to pop back to the angle. When I move things, they will be stretched out. So it's not going to squish anything. It's just going to go back to this angle. And I want this Magneto character to be as close to the original MetaHuman setup as possible, so that when we do our animation for our body, the retargeting isn't too hard to get back to. Okay, I know that Unreal does a great job of retargeting, but I want to get pretty close to the proportions. And I mean the main thing here seems to just be this bend in the arm. So once we rotate this arm back and then put everything in position, we'll say assume preferred angle, and it'll just rotate it back to that position. So again, I'm going to set preferred angle. We're good to go. I'm going to save a new version. We're off to the races. Well, after this takes a minute to save. So something else to note is when you have a character that has hard surface bits like this armor, he's going to be pretty easy to rig up because we're just going to have this armor twist with the forearm. But stuff like this shoulder piece might be a little more interesting because we don't really want it to bend too much. And then these knee pads shouldn't bend at all, so they're going to have to go 100% to this lower leg joint. All right, so to get the, let's just start with the arm. To get the arm into kind of the right direction. Another thing, I don't know if I showed this before, but go into shading and set your X-ray, set it to X-ray joints so you can see your skeleton inside your mesh. All right, so I want to rotate this. Okay, so I'm going to hit my E key to rotate and just rotate in my Z till I get close to where my wrist is. That's right. I want to get close to center of the wrist. Right there is perfect. And then I want to rotate down too. So this will just allow me to, when I set preferred angle, it'll allow me. Now I'm looking down the wrist too, and I can see that my hand isn't really that aligned. So I'm rotating in my X direction as well, just to align that. So ideally, if I can rotate all of these joints and then place them, that'll be the best case scenario. Okay, because then once I bind my skin, I can so I'll rotate them until they get into a fairly decent, point where they look like they're matching. And I know, okay, if I grab this guy, that is my thumb 01. So now I can move it. So I'm hitting W to move right around there. And I will still use my rotate to get some of this in the right place and then move. Okay, this is going to be my second knuckle. Just want to look from both positions. And I can put wireframe on shaded too if I want to get it right onto the center of a poly loop. Now I know I want that to be where it bends right there. Okay, that helps me quite a bit. Okay, and then let's move this to the tip of the thumb. I want to look right down the barrel. Got it. Let me grab this. What is that supposed to be? Thumb bulge. Okay. All right. That's. I'm just gonna turn my body LOD. I can reference stuff too. So let's turn body LOD 0 on and just see where that sits. Interesting. Okay, so it looks like I moved it completely wrong. We can see that that is that knuckle, and this is all the way up here, and it's sitting on top of. Okay, good thing I checked. So I want that all sitting on top of each other. So I'm going to, yeah, so this guy should be all stacked up right against. Okay, we do have that piece. All right, I see what's going on. We've got our thumb 01. It's just our thumb 02 is sitting right on top of our, and that's that knuckle. So thumb 01 is all the way up at this arch. Okay, perfect. Good thing I did check. And my thumb 01 is all the way up at that arch. So this guy is what we moved incorrectly. So let's move it back. I'll hide my body LED 0. And I want it to be snapped to this. There we go. These guys ride together. Okay. And then let's put it right at that knuckle. So yeah, if you're having any doubts, just show your body LOD 0 and look at where they place the joints and then just mirror that. All right, I'm liking that. Okay, now it looks like these both want to be sitting on top of each other too, so I'm just going to hold B to snap to that, and we'll move them together too. And this is going to be that forward knuckle. All right, so I'm just going to do a few more of these. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording after I move a few more of these. Maybe I'll record and do a time lapse. And then once I'm done placing everything, I'll show you how on the left-hand side. Once I'm done placing everything on the left-hand side. Oh, you know, this is a great example of a mistake I made. I got my wrist in the right place, but it's all the way, it's a child of something that I should have moved. Like, I messed up. I didn't move my elbow in the right place. So I need to move my elbow. And unfortunately, if I do that, I'm going to be moving all of this information, which is really annoying. So if I hit the D key, I can actually move I can move a parent without moving the children. You can see now that I've hit the D key, I'm able to move my elbow into place. And let's just, we've got our elbow right here. So I need to come down a bit. So that's a nice little trick. If you're not very experienced with rigging, you might not know about that. But in Maya, if you need to move a parent and you've already set, you know, I've already done enough work on this thumb. I don't want to move the whole thing and then remove it. I could, but if I can get away with moving the parent without moving the children, that's going to be ideal. So that is exactly how we do it. All right, I'm pretty happy with that position of the elbow. I'm going to save. Yeah, unfortunately, since this has such a lot of information, you know, this has got that DNA file and all those blend shapes and everything, saving does take a little longer than normal. All right, now I want to rotate again to get it into the right position first. And then I'll, you know, rotate these guys up. You know, first I'm going to rotate this one down a little bit so it's a little more center mass. There we go. Now we can. All right, I'm grabbing these both at the same time and it's rotating incorrectly. Okay, so let's. All right, I guess that's a child anyway. I can rotate. A little more center mass. So once you've rotated in a direction, if you middle mouse wheel, push it down and hold it, you can keep rotating without grabbing that. So, let's say I want to zoom in and really nail this. I can middle mouse and grab it to get the job done. Okay. All right, that is nice and straight. So now we can pull these points, and let's double check on our LOD0 where those are. Okay, so this guy's sitting right at the knuckle, and right at the knuckle. Perfect. Just gonna hit F to frame because I just got a little weird issue. Okay, so we're gonna move right at the knuckle. I can hide my body LOD0. This also shows me that I could have exported a higher LOD mesh for my body. I could have a higher resolution on my body, and that'll help with our silhouette. That'll help. We don't need displacement information. Not that we would be using that on a Fortnite character, but I can get away with a higher resolution on this, and it's going to help with my silhouette and just the look of my shadows. If we were in VR, normal maps kind of break down because the parallax, your eye seeing two different positions kind of flattens them out. So more sculptural detail helps there too. So, the good thing is I haven't bound my skin, so I can bring in a higher resolution. I can go to my division level 2 on all of my geometry. Or maybe, I think I've got enough here. I can go division 2 on some of it and not all of it. Oh, and it looks like, look at that. This boot is a different division. Look, that one is a higher sub D. Okay, so yeah, I'll probably, before I finish this off, go into ZBrush and pop out a higher subdivision level. Another thing is I've got my Magneto suit, my display layer with all this geometry. I've got it on reference. This helps a lot too because whenever I'm selecting stuff, I'm not grabbing geometry. I mean, Maya prioritizes skeletal meshes, but I like to have this on reference mode while I'm rigging anyway. Okay, so let's go ahead. We do need to move both of these guys. I want that knuckle. Perfect. And we can grab this guy and rotate down a little bit. There we go. We can grab this guy and rotate down a little bit. And we'll go to this knuckle. And we just want to go to the top. Yeah, that's looking pretty close. Let's move this a little bit closer. All right, I'm liking that. Okay, so I'm just going to continue doing this for the rest of my characters. Remember, if you've got something that's pretty bent, you want to rotate it first and then move it into position. Because then once we find our skin, we can go back to our, I'm just going to save it. We can go back to our skeleton and hit assume preferred angle, and it's going to snap back to that kind of bent elbow, relaxed fingers look. If you're doing that though, before you bind your skin, you can also, I believe you can set a key. It might not, it might have an issue with, you can key all of them in position to save that position. We'll see that. I think maybe if you try and bind after you've keyed, it might yell at you. I'll have to try that again. It's been a while. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and um, I'm gonna stop recording, and I'll be back when I've placed all these joints on the left-hand side, and I'll show you what we do next. So I've moved all of my bones into the right place, okay? And I'm always double checking with my my original MetaHuman body just to make sure I've got, exact placement. Like I hid my Magneto suit and I showed my body LOD 0. I just wanted to make sure, I've got this ankle bone right at that ankle right there, and then I just wanted to check on the toes. This backbone is kind of where it would rotate here, and then the knuckle here. So I just wanted to be sure. It looks super crazy here, but that's okay. That is okay. Alright, so I'll show my suit. And, I've got a boot here, so it's not a huge deal that these are very detailed as far as my bones here. I could actually paint all of my weights to my boot on, say, this metal toe, and it would be okay. But yeah, that's then I've got my knee. I made sure to put my knee right where my knee would rotate. Let's just hide this for a second. I can see him kind of right at that edge loop right there. And I also wanted to double check on my MetaHuman on this pelvis point. Got this helper bone that comes all the way down here and then goes right up to around the pelvis. So I wanted to make sure. Got mine pretty close to my pelvis and all the way down here. So I had to move that a little bit. I've got my elbow right where I want it. And I've moved my wrist right where I want it. And then I've moved the finger bones, which took the longest. And my shoulder's already in a good place. Pretty happy with the shoulder. I'm happy with the clavicle. That all happened because I had moved these bones up to move the face up too. Okay. So now the issue is I need to get the same information over to the other side, and I need it to be exact. And so I don't want to grab these bones and try and figure out, okay, if it's positive on this side, it's negative on that side. I can have Maya do all of that work for me. So I'm going to hide all my geometry. I'm going to grab my skeletal mesh, and I'm going to hide the root body. I'm going to grab my root driver, and I'm going to say Control D and duplicate the whole thing. And here it is, root driver 1. Then I'm going to delete on this duplicate. I'm going to delete the entire right side. Let's hide, let's just, I'm going to undo that for a second. Let's just make sure we're hiding our root driver so I'm not accidentally deleting. So let's hide those joints. I'll hide my head joints too. Alright, so now I've got root driver 1. It's right here. And I want to delete this side. And for now, I'm going to hide these guys. Alright, let's just hide those. Okay, so delete those guys. Now I'm going to delete these guys. Alright, so I have that entire half of the rig deleted. So now I can grab my leg and I can go up to skeleton and I can say mirror joints. And that's going to put them in the exact same position, on the mirrored side. So now I can copy the information And it's going to take a while, but it's going to save me a lot of hassle. So I can say, grab my wrist, and I know that that exact position is where I want my root driver wrist to be. Okay. So let's start easy. Let's go ahead and show our root driver again. We can see that it's out of place here. So let's start with the leg. I'm going to grab my leg over here. I'm going to copy my translate X. I'll paste my translate X. Copy my Y. Paste my Y. Copy my Z. Paste my Z. And then I've got some rotational information here too. There we go. So now it's sitting exactly where I want it to sit. So let's grab this knee. So this is the correct knee, I can tell because I've got all the rotation information. So it's a kind of arduous process, but it beats trying to think about what would be positive, what would be negative, and that's kind of the only way to get exactly the same values. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing this. Let's do a few fingers just to show. And then I'll pause my recording and not make you watch me do 15 to 20 minutes of copy and paste. That value got through. We can get a little bit closer with this too. It's the last value here. And there we go. Now they're lining up. So the higher up ankle is the one that is in the correct position. Okay. Now I'm curious. Okay, let's just get these numbers here. 68. Yeah, those are all right. I wonder why this guy is up here. That one's still on there. A negative 0 shouldn't matter here, but interesting. Maybe when I move the feet. So I'm not going to move the feet. I'll finish that later. Let's go ahead and move a few of these fingers. Huh, that's interesting. Oh, I should have rotational. No, I swear I rotated this guy. I guess I didn't rotate the upper arm. I just rotated the lower arm. Yeah. Now, if all else fails, you can just, there's no rotational information here. I can just grab this guy and snap it. Curious, though. Very interesting. Why is it so different? Yeah, that's a very odd situation. Okay, well, fortunately, I'm just going to hold B. Got my move on, and there's no rotational information that needs to happen here, right? We got no rotation, yeah. And then for this guy, we've got rotation, but I can snap it into place too. So this, I can snap it. There we go. Now they're sitting directly on top of each other. And then I can just copy this rotation information. Hopefully this isn't squirrely. Let's see. Interesting. I have no idea why. Did I move this to... May have rotated and then moved. $83.76. 8249 negative 20. That is so strange because these have the same value. Okay, well let's there's no rotational information on that, so you know what? Let's set this wrist to the same position as here, and that'll probably line that up. There we go. Now they're sitting right on top of each other. Okay, I'm going to do one finger and one finger only, and then I'm not going to make you, put you through the pain of watching me. Another thing that I can do with this duplicate skeleton is I can add it to a display layer, and that'll just help me hide, if I'm having trouble. So let's do that. So I've got my duplicate skeleton. I've got it added to a display layer. Now I can easily hide it so I know which is which. So I'm copying from the right one and pasting to the right one. I can also, on my display layer, turn it red. And that should, yes. So with my display layer turned red, now I know the red skeleton is my target. I could choose any color I want, but now I've got a very obvious target, right? So I'm not like, oh, which is which, and having a lot of trouble. So I'm copying from red, that's my target, to my rainbow skeleton. What is, okay, it is moving. Oh, thank you. All right, and just know that sometimes things won't line up, and that's because you need to do the next joint in the chain. So another thing we can do, though, is we can just move and snap, right? And then just replace the rotational. So I've just got to rotate here on my Z. Just going to grab this guy. So that's pretty fast, too, right? Grab these guys. Snap right there. And that looks like it doesn't need. So I can also add, you know, so if I'm having problems and I want to select my my target, I can add my root driver to a display layer too. And now I can hide it. I'm just going to select this and see if there's any rotation. No, there's not. All right, so that's one thumb. I'm going to do the rest of the fingers. I'm not going to put you through the pain of watching me do it, but once I'm done, we're going to go ahead and bind. We want to bind the body root. I'll do that. I'll do that on the recording, but we'll bind the body root and transfer all of our skin weights. So I'm pretty much done. I had an issue though. My when I went back and looked at my skeleton, my shoulder was off, and I had mirrored my arm over. And I'm just gonna delete this. So when I mirrored my arm over, I grabbed my arm joint and I said skeleton mirror joints. And you notice once I have my magneto geometry in, the joints don't match up. Okay, so that's telling me one of two things. I've got an issue with my mirroring, or my mesh is not centered to my world. And if I go to my front view, I can actually see my mesh is indeed, this is my 0 and my X is aligned to my world. So what I did is, I'm just going to delete that skeleton. I'm going to delete this too. I mirrored from the clavicle over. So I said skeleton, mirror joints, and that lines up perfectly. So I don't know why. If you mirror from the from the shoulder over, it's not mirroring correctly. So let's show my root now. And that was why I was getting those weird errors, or why it seemed like I was so far off of the mark. And there we go. Now we're lined up. And we're pretty close to perfect, but I've got some issues. Now, I think, let's just double check my rotations. My rotations are all good. So I copied my rotates, and they are 18613. Yeah. So my rotations are all good, which means I just need to snap my skeletal, need to snap my root driver bones to my what would I call it, my reference skeleton. So something else I can do to kind of speed up things, if these are getting close to each other and I'm trying to select one and I'm grabbing the other, since I've got this joint chain on a display layer, I can set it to T, which will make it transparent, or I can set it to R, which will make it a reference. So either one. And now if I hit the move and hold B to snap, it can snap right to that joint. It's looking for a bunch of other things. So let's hide our suit geometry so I'm not snapping at any of those verts. And there we go. Oh, I'm going to turn my reference off. This joint needs to be down here too. Not that it matters too much. And I've got is this a rotation issue? Interesting. Of course, if I need to select these to copy and paste, I can't have this on my reference mode. Ah, that's the issue. I was like, wow, it's off. It's off at the wrist. Well, let's snap that wrist. And there we go. Now everything's lining up, of course, except for the stuff that we just snapped over. Beautiful. Okay, there we go. That saves me a lot of time. You know what? I'm going to leave that. And let's show our Magneto suit just to see what we're looking at here. Okay. That's looking great. All right, so I am ready to bind my skin and copy my skin weights. Now, again, if you remember, I said since my geometry is so optimized, but look at my MetaHuman. It's body LOD 0. I can see this MetaHuman has a lot more resolution. So before I bind my skin, I think I'm gonna, well, I know I am. I'm gonna send over. I think the shorts have a pretty good poly density, but the body, the knee pads, the shoes, the sole of the shoes. What else? I think I'm just gonna. The chest plate's looking good, and these spheres are fine. Yeah, I think I'll do the. I'll give the cape some more resolution too. Now we're gonna add some cloth. We're gonna paint in cloth so we can just do a cloth simulation in Unreal. So more geometry on that cape will help with that simulation. I think the gauntlets have pretty good resolution. So I'm going to go into ZBrush and send out let's first save this. Send out a higher resolution mesh. I think I'll give the helmet a little, another subdivision too. I could have wrapped the MetaHuman body to my Magneto suit and projected the details, but that's not really necessary. If you want to in the future, you can use the MetaHuman body as your base mesh. I would recommend it. Then you've got matching topology, and you don't have to retopo at the end of the job. So this I hand retopoed with Quadra, but the MetaHuman body is great, and you get a free set of UVs out of it. All right, So I'm gonna send over my sub D2 from ZBrush, and we'll come back and bind the skin. Right, I have exported my high poly suit out of ZBrush, my level 2, and you know what? I went through and I hardened some of the normals just so it looks like I wanted it to. I had some edges that had gotten softened in the process that wanted to make sure were hard edges again, and that is important. Make sure that, you know, if you need to harden edges or any of that kind of information, it's important that you do it because it's going to come over. That normal information is going to go into Unreal. And while you are baking a normal map, the hardened soft edges will help with shadow display, and it'll, especially with armor, it'll look a lot better having defined that information. So it's a pretty high poly count. If I select the suit, I've got 80,000 polygons. So the suit itself is 33. You know, if I was going for a game, you know, if this was supposed to be an actual Fortnite character and not something for a cinematic, I would have kept it at the lower resolution. But you know, this MetaHuman face itself is 24,000 polygons. So let's just say we're going for a cinematic character. I really like the silhouette in this helmet now that it looks a lot better, especially right here. So that helped a lot. Now I do have an issue. I can see that this normal edge right here is not behaving properly. And if I click it and I say harden normal, harden edge, it's not obeying. So what I need to do is click it. I need to go to mesh display and say, oh, I've got a rooster. Say unlock normals. And there you go. You can see that now it's hardened. Now everything is hardened. I don't want that. So, of course, the rooster's right outside my door crowing. I'm going to go ahead and say soften harden edges. And that's going to give me a lot of the hard edges back. And let's just grab these guys. My rooster's name is Gilligan, and he's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and say harden edges. So that's looking a lot better. I do have hard edges right here, and it looks like right there. So my rooster Gilligan, if you give him food, he won't eat it. He'll hold it in his mouth and crow for the hens to come and eat it, and he'll give it to them. He's a good boy. So I double clicked this center line, and I got the whole center line. I just want those two. So let's go ahead and harden edges. That ought to do the trick. Just want to double check underneath here. Okay, that's great. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Let me just... Okay, so everything's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and grab all of my geometry. Just before I bind my skin, I want to make sure that I delete my history. So I'm going to right click on my, before I exported this geometry, I added it to a display layer. I sent it all to a clean Maya scene and renamed everything, cleaned it up there, added a display layer. So when you export an FBX, it will export a display layer. It will export the display layers connected to the geometry. So I'm going to just select all the objects. I'm going to say select objects, and I'm going to say edit, delete by type history. Now I want to make sure I don't delete all by type history because that'll break my entire rig and delete everything. So I'll delete my history, And let's just make sure we don't have any transform information. We do, so I don't want that either. Right click and select objects again. Say modify freeze transforms. All right. And let's delete our history one more time. All right, now everything except for the helmet is going to be bound to this rig. And we need to make sure we bind it to the right rig. So my root drive 1 was the rig I used to copy over, and it's hidden right now. There it is. I'm just going to leave it hidden for now. Now I do not want to bind my skin to my root driver skeleton. When I send it over to Unreal, it's not going to recognize it. I need to just hide that, and I'll unhide my DHI body root. Okay, that is what we need to bind. So I'm going to grab, what's the best way to do this? You know what, I'm going to hide that for now. And I don't want my helmet. My helmet needs to be bound to my head bone, which is, the helmet's going to come out as a part of my MetaHuman face rig. Okay. Well, I'm not going to export it at the same time. I can also export it separately and add it into my blueprint, and it'll just match that skeletal mesh. Well, we'll try it as an export for now and see how it goes. Well, I mean, I'll try exporting it all as one. All right, so this, I've got it all selected. And let's, bummer. I can't unhide the root driver. What I can do though is I could do these one by one. I just don't want to. I'm going to grab the helmet, and we're going to remove it from this suit layer. So I'm going to right click my display layer and say remove selected objects, and then I'll just create a new display layer and it'll assign selected objects, and let's just call that. All right, there we go. So let's unhide our, well, our body, our root was unhidden. I'm a goofball. Oh well. Right click and select objects. I'll just hold Control and click my body root, and I can go into my rigging. I can go skeleton, and I can, oh, I need to go to skin, sorry, bind skin. Let's open up the settings first, and I'm going to say edit and reset settings. And I'm going to allow max influence is 5, joint hierarchy, and let's go ahead and bind skin. Okay. Now we need the driver to actually move everything. I can't move any of these joints. If I grab, say, this arm joint and try and rotate it, it's not going to move correctly. So if we want to move stuff, we need to grab our root driver, and that is how we rotate. Okay, so we can see we do have a bound skin. Now this is some obvious errors that happen with rigging. So to save ourselves a ton of time, what we're going to do is we're going to transfer the weights from our body, and that should basically paint all of our weights. And I'll show you a really cool trick. If you get stuff, usually around the crotch and the armpits, you'll still get errors after you copy your skin weights. But if you rotate up and then recopy the skin weights, it usually gets rid of those errors. So that's a fun little trick. But not bad so far. Not terrible. Maya's default is usually pretty good. Another thing we want to do is we're going to paint, we're going to cloth sim most of this cape, but I do want this cape to follow the shoulders, and I want the edge of the cape to bend up when we rotate this arm like that. I do want it to follow the arm like that. So we'll allow the top portion right around here to follow the weighting, and then everything below here is going to be, we're going to simulate that cloth. All right, so let's, I'm going to go body LOD 0, and I can select that, select my suit. So I select my body LOD 0 first, shift select my suit, and I'll go into skin and say copy skin weights. Now I don't need to show my body root right now. And now we can rotate out and we can see that there still are some errors, all right? I'm still getting errors right here. So let's move the arm out and grab the body again and do another copy skin weights. And you know what, here, just a second. Before I do that, another thing I like to do when I'm painting weights is to key everything so I can just snap it back to frame 0. Because I do have, I don't have rotational information on there, but I do down here. You remember we did rotate some bones. Let's, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save a new version because I've done quite a lot of work. And then let's go ahead and let's just assign, let's set that, or not set preferred angle, but assume preferred angle on the rig and see what it does after this save. I want to do it after I save just in case anything funky happens. All right, so I can go to skeleton. Oh, first we need to select hierarchy, skeleton, assume preferred angle, and there we go. He's out to that MetaHuman. So that's pretty cool, right? It's bent the arms. Oh, and another thing is I've actually got my full body rig, which is cool. Oh no, that's the head. Huh. Okay, I see. This is the full body. So this is a good body. This shows up. I can hide this too, and I'll still have my other body. Let's see. You can see I've still got my MetaHuman body LOD 0, but if you hit show all, you're gonna get this base MetaHuman that's actually a fully connected merged MetaHuman, and it still has the UVs of the MetaHuman. So it's got it's got the UDEMs for the head and the body, but it's also got really good. You can copy weights from the neck area, which is awesome. So this is actually a better mesh to copy weights from. So I just hit it. I just hit H. Now I selected my body LOD 0, and I'm going to hit Control Shift H. and I'm going to hide my body 0. So I just did a little tricky flipperoo because I'm going to use this guy to copy my skin weights. All right, so let's grab that. Got my root driver. All right, so let's grab him again with the arm up and say skin, copy skin weights. All right, and it's not, I'm not getting these birds to be painted away. So that's a little bit frustrating. But what I can do is can grab these specific verts and flood them back down. So let's go skin. I'm going to paint skin weights. And I want to paint them to 0 at this upper arm. So double click my tool settings. And I know my left arm is influencing these verts on my... So I just want to paint them far enough away where I can keep this arm up and then recopy the skin weights, and they're not going to follow this time. Because they've just got a close enough proximity that even though I move them up and copy the skin weights, they're staying down there. So got the arm. This is left. All right, we got upper arm twist, corrective root. All right, here we go. Okay, so what I think is going on is I need to hide my driver for a second and show my root. So let's open that tool again. Okay, that's upper arm move. All right, I'm gonna hold B to lower the size of my brush, and I'm gonna say replace opacity 1, value 0. So that's gonna allow me to erase. Oh, and that's making it go higher. What the heck? All right, well then let's do value 1. There we go. All right. Doesn't matter that this is ugly. My goal here is to just get them far enough away that now I can grab my guy. I can grab him, my suit, and we can say skin, copy skin weights. And there we go. All right, and I'm seeing that I have some stuff coming from the arm up there. Let's go ahead and paint that back towards the arm. So these pieces of the arm want to go farther towards. That means I need to set my value at 0. reduce my brush size. So another thing I can do if I'm having a lot of trouble here is, well, that's not going to can grow my selection from here. There we go. So I'm holding shift and the period key, and I can grow my selection. And then I'm just deselecting some of these edges. I'm going to convert these edges. So let me also, I'm going to unhide my joints here for a second, just because they're taking precedent. They're getting selected first. All right, so what I can do now is I can go to my select, and I'm going to say convert selection to vertices. And now I can paint weights, but it'll only affect these verts. Okay, so I've got my weight painting. Now I can say flood. All right, so 0 is not working, so they're being attracted by something else too. Looks like it's spine. Let's flood those to 0. All right, that helped. Okay, I'm just holding shift to smooth. I'm going to say B, make my brush a little bit bigger. So the cool thing about having verts selected is that all of your weight painting only affects those verts. So I don't have to wrestle with the rest of this stuff. It looks okay. So now I just deselected my verts, and now I can go in here. There we go. Let's see if I just flood. No, I can't really flood it, can I? If I paint it to 0, yeah, that's helping. Okay, so I've got those verts pretty far away from the body. Let's grab our guy again and say skin, copy skin weights. All right, that just made it worse. So let's go ahead and make it even more extreme. Let's grab our root driver. Show our joints, hide our body root, and let's get them even higher. All right. All right, that helps some of it. So my tool settings to make sure I'm getting maximum smooth, I just need my opacity to 1, and that's going to make that smooth maximum. This area is being really frustrating. I'm gonna try, I'm gonna try to show the, let's say display, show all. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna hide this guy and we're gonna grab the body. Just try the body. Ooh, that neck part. Oh, so the reason the neck imploded was because the other guy has a neck. So that's pretty important to note. Yeah, that's not working. All right, so it looks like I'm just gonna have to finesse this and paint my weights. So let's keep working and I'll get back into those details later. Let's save a new version as well. But you know what I think is still grabbing that area is this little bone right here that's poking out into the rib area. I need to find that and paint it to 0. What's that guy called? That is latissimus. Okay. So I need to hide my driver, turn on my body root, and let's go back to white painting. Let's find that latissimus. Man, that search sucks. It's a whole lot of fingers, whole lot of fingers. Body twist. There's our latissimus. Yes, I knew it. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to paint these weights to get that. I'm gonna have to actually go in and give it a little bit of finesse and love. So we'll do that later. I'm not gonna over obsess right now. Let's reset. All right. Let's grab this. Go skeleton. Assume preferred angle. Why? Why would you do this to me? Oh, I'm assuming my preferred angle on my root instead of my driver. Funny. Remember, you move your driver, your root is what's bound. So I'm gonna hide the suit for now, just so it's out of the way. Now I'll grab this guy, and let's say skin, copy skin weights. I'm just going down the line and I'm hitting G to repeat last. And since I copied skin weights, that's exactly what it's doing. Sometimes it doesn't work though. Pay attention to if things move. And then you might need to, instead of hitting G, go back and click the copy skin weights. Most likely I'm going to set this guy 100% to this wrist. Let's just, we've got a driver on, cool. So you see how the, I mean, this is a Fortnite character, so it's not a huge deal, but don't exactly want, most of that's fine. This was proper armor. I wouldn't want this bending. I would actually have bones for each of those. Let's go to skin, copy skin weights. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to do this. I will go ahead and pause my, well, let's do the feet actually, because they are a little distorted right now. And then let's rotate our leg up just to see. So you see how it's stretching towards this side? It's still attracted to some of this skeleton. If I grab and I say skin, copy skin weights, it's going to go 100%. You know what, let's just get it way away. It's still going to stretch, huh? I may need to bind the skin with a couple of different settings to avoid this annoyance. Let's fix this armor though. Let's say skin. So it's doing the same thing. Most of it's following because it's pretty far away. What we need to do is just get rid of any influence that that other leg has. I remember, well, fortunately, it's only going to give me a list of the bones that are influencing this. So there's far fewer. And I want only L stuff. Anything that's R, see how I see an R right here and an R right there? I can just flood that to 0. Any other, oh, and you know what? It's going to the root too. Let's flood it to, well, I should have said that crashed it. So the root was influencing it too. Give me just a second, I'll start back up. Alright, so rebooted. Now I'm just going through and grabbing these pieces that are stretched. I rotated my driver leg again. And these pieces that are really stretched, I'm going through. I'm opening up my paint skin weights, which is again in skin, paint skin weights. If you don't have that tool set, you say paint skin weights, and you want to see, which of course you always do, just double click this tool and it opens up. So I'm grabbing my root, I'm saying replace, opacity 1, value 0. That's going to flood it to black. So that means that the root has 0 influence on it. I'm just grabbing each of these and doing that. Okay, now I can grab my MetaHuman body, and now I can transfer my skin weights. Look at this skin. Oops, not vertex weights. Skin, copy skin weights. Just hitting G to repeat last. And I can hide, I'm going to hide my Magneto suit. So so it's very obvious. Now that my boot is far enough away from everything, it's much easier to get these skin weights correct. Okay, so let's just move this joint and see if we notice anything. That looks fine. That looks fine. Okay, so my knee pad is stretching and it's a piece of metal, so I don't want it to stretch. So a proper rig, I would have a bone inside that guy. But I'm gonna paint it 100% to my calf. So I need to show my. No, you know, I don't think I do need to show. Let's just go skin, paint skin weights, and yeah, calf L is what I want. Now I'm gonna, instead of flooding to 0, which deletes all of the weights, I'm gonna flood to 1. There we go. So now, since it's metal, I flooded it to 1. It's following at 100%. Okay. Let's say skin, or sorry, skeleton. Well, let's select our hierarchy first. Say skeleton, assume preferred angle. Can show my suit. And I don't have too many errors in this crotch area, actually, strangely enough. I'm going to grab my MetaHuman and copy my skin weights to the underwear. I am having something weird going on with this. That's much better. All right, let's just hide my MetaHuman for a second. So this is not bad. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but in a a fully functional rig, these pieces should have their own joints so that they don't deform like this. I could maybe paint them 100% to say this piece of the spine. That's the hips. The issue is that they're going to move without the belt if I do that. So for now, I'm going to actually allow them to deform. Whoa, what's going on with this guy? Oh, I didn't copy my... I hadn't saved after I copied skin weights for my gauntlet, so let's just show all. This is kind of weird though, honestly. It's in a really, oh, it's because these hands do not correct. This preferred, something happened where my preferred angle is off. Very strange. It did not look like that before. All right, I'm gonna have to go back to my previous save, just double check. All right, so I'm going to keep on working on this. I'm going to refine everything. I've showed you enough that you can refine and fix your weights and your rig yourself. So I'm not going to make you watch me do that for what's probably going to take about an hour. I'll come back when everything is refined and we will send this over to Unreal. We have a working MetaHuman body and face, so that's great. All right, so I've got my my rig to a decent place here. I could really finesse it. You know, these verts aren't beautiful, but I'm not going to push it too far. And honestly, I don't think our audience is going to see that armpit too often. So, um, I mean, I should, you know, if this wasn't a tutorial and I was finishing this, that would still be an issue. But I need to get it done, so we're going to call it. He should have an armpit there. That's fine, though. What I want to do, though, is this side is not as good as this side. So I want to transfer the information from one side to the other. If you're familiar with rigging, you know exactly how to do this. We're going to mirror our skin weights, but then the body needs to be in the same position. So I'm going to copy the rotation on this guy and just make sure I paste it here so they're in exactly the same spot. Everything else is rigged up nicely. Oh, yeah. So, oh, I got some twist in there. What's this guy coming from? No, I haven't saved in a while. It would be really sad if I crashed this. So I assume this has got some weighting towards that root joint. We'll see. We will see. So if I go into my paint weights, see my root does have an influence there. So let's set our value to 0 and our opacity to 1. Replace and flood. And there we go. And I'm going to grab the body one more time just to make sure that it's got show all. I'm going to hide the head and the root. And let's just grab that body. Grab here. Grabbing my MetaHuman body. I know that it's this outside of my mesh piece right here. Just say copy scan. Let's grab this guy too. I see. So I hid part of the rig. There's these helper tools in the rig that I'm selecting. So it's part of this rig setup group, so I can grab that and hide it and still see my body because my body is in this rig folder. Alright, so that part's not stretching, that's great. I'll just zero out my rotates here. Alright, so my my rig's moving pretty nicely. I'm gonna hide my body LOD 0. It's I've got it set up and it looks like it's going to animate really well. Got these folds. I made sure that I painted most of the cape is painted just up to this spine 05, and then again I'll just set this all to a cloth simulation so it simulates. So I just want to mirror these weights since I fixed this problem. And so I'm just going to say in my rigging, I'll say skin, and I've got mirror skin weights. And I want to go, yes, positive to negative. That is correct. So this side of to the right is positive, to the left is negative. So I want to go positive to negative. I'll say apply. And it did not work correctly. So let's try that again. Closest point on surface. I've got, this is Y up. I've got, I believe we are Z up. So I'm going to try XZ. Okay, I got all but the spot I wanted to. I don't think that's correct anyway. Yes, it is YZ. And it is moving some of it. It's so frustrating. Let's try raycast. Let's grab this and say skeleton, assume preferred angle. And let's try again. There we go. That's better. There's one little odd spot, but I think that they just weren't close enough as far as being exactly identical. Maybe there was some rotation that was off. All right, so I am ready to send this body over. This body's good. I'm cool with how it's looking. One more thing I'd like to do though is we need to get our helmet going, and I want to send these eyebrows along. These are stylized eyebrows. I'm gonna make some stylized hair for him for when doesn't have a helmet, and I'm gonna rig that and send it over to Unreal. So I'll do a tutorial on his stylized hair and rigging it and still being a part of the MetaHuman. So we'll be able to get it to interact with chaos physics. And yeah, it's pretty cool. When he runs, it'll dangle, but we don't want it to fly everywhere, so we'll get it semi-rigid and get it to look really cool. For now though, I want these eyebrows to follow his face, so I need to save. First of all, let's save a new version just in case. And I apologize. I know that if you've watched this whole tutorial, you've probably sat through about 2 minutes of watching me save. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, it's just the nature of the beast with these MetaHuman files. They're just big. All right, there we go. And I've got my look at control. I might just go ahead and have my head control layer. I'll set that to 0. Okay, so I'll hide my head control layer. And I want to show my head spine, my head joints. And I'm going to grab my eyebrow, and that's both eyebrows. They're one mesh, and we'll say skin, bind skin. Okay. I can hide my skeleton. And if let's show my head control. If I look up, you can see that my eyebrows are moving some, which is great. But I want them to, let's try and get them to move exactly the same as. So I'm just going to copy my skin weights from my head to my eyebrows. Weird, it looked like it flashed a little error there. Alright, that's good enough for me. You see the brow moving? That looks fine. Okay, so eyebrow geometry is good. Now let's bind our helmet. Okay. So we need to show our head spine again. Now I only need my head, the tip of my head joint. That's the only thing, and I needed 100% for all of these guys. So if I've got spine 4 here, and I've got head here, and then everything else is coming off of the head. So that's what I want my in my entire helmet. It's not going to bend, it's just going to follow this head. It doesn't move with the chin or anything. It's just a solid piece that moves with the head. So got my head, I'm going to select my helmet, I'm going to say skin, and I'm going to go to my bind skin options. And instead of joint hierarchy, I'm going to say selected joints, max influences 1, and I'll apply. Then I'll grab this other piece, apply, and just go down through all of the head elements. Okay, and that ought to do it. So let's go ahead and now my my root driver is actually driving my head too. So if I grab head driver, I can rotate so I can hide my head. And okay, so these are the eyes for my Magneto. There we go. I hit 6 just to preview to see what my... Okay. So that was my head driver. So my helmet is moving with my head. You can also see that the neck of my suit is moving with my head, which is great. And that's because I copied the skin weights from the full character. If I would have just copied from the body that doesn't have the torso, or sorry, that doesn't have the bust and the clavicle area, that would not have worked. So we're looking great. We are ready to take this over to Unreal Engine. Oh. I want to check one thing now. Let's... I can set his suit. I can't select it. I'm just going to grab one of these neck controllers. Yeah, so the rig logic is not working on the... That's okay though. I'll in another tutorial, I'll show you how to get the neck. If you have like a suit or a turtleneck and you want the neck animation from your rig to trigger like your suit or anything like that, I can show you how to do that too. All right, let's go ahead and start exporting stuff. So to export the head, let's get into that. That is going to be one of the most intense portions. What I want to do is I want to duplicate my root driver, and I've already got it duplicated. Oh, did I delete that? No, I didn't. So I've got this duplicate right here that we used as kind of the proxy for our positions. And what I want, so here, let me show you the issue and show you why I'm doing this. Let's go ahead and hide this guy. If I show my spine, I don't have a root, and I don't have the other spine joints. If I take this head mesh with this joint hierarchy into Unreal right now, it will not work. It will break, it'll give you an error that it couldn't find the bones, and then you won't be able to hook it up. So what I want to do is I want to add those bones. So if I can duplicate this. I've already got a duplicate though, so I'm just going to use that. So I can delete everything except for, let's go ahead, we can delete our leg. Now let's see, this is spine 4, that's spine 3, and that's spine 4. There we go. So I want to delete spine 4. I'll delete it because I want to parent my spine 4 from my head spine, my DHI head. I want to parent it to spine 3. Okay, so delete. I deleted everything on my duplicate skeleton. Basically, all I'm taking is my root and my pelvis, my spine 1, 2, and 3. All right. So I'm going to grab my spine 3 and then shift select spine 4 and hit P. Wrong way. Let's grab our spine 4 from our head and grab our spine 3 and hit P. All right, so now I've parented it. And there we go. Everything turned red because now that it's a child of this root joint that's in this layer, it's red. I can double click this layer and say no, and now it'll be back to the rainbow color. All right, so super important. Duplicate either your root driver, you could do your DHI body too as well. And then now the one thing I want to do is instead of it saying root underscore drv1, I'm just going to say root. And that's fine. So all of these underscore drv, I'm just going to get rid of that. If you've got a joint selected and you hit the down key, it'll go to the next joint in the hierarchy. And there we go. Now we're on DHI spine. Okay. So I'm going to save a new version. I apologize, you're going to watch me save again. Oh my goodness, what was that renaming? All right, I'll wait to save a new version. That I named it incorrectly, but that's fine. I can just rename it after I'm done recording. All right, so I want to export. I want to export the head, and I think I can bring it all along. Yeah, let's just do it all in one fell swoop. So I'm gonna turn off my joints and grab all of my geometry. Now I want to make sure I bring my teeth too. They're inside that head, if you remember. So I got to bring my teeth. I'm just gonna select all of that. Control Shift to add to my selection. And there we go. That's everything. Helmet, head, everything. All right, now I want to grab my head. So I'll say show joints. Now my where it used to say DHI head, it is now under root. So it's down here. You know what? Sorry, I'm gonna select my skeletal mesh or my joints first and say select hierarchy. Now I'll hide my joints and then I'll select my head. Okay, so now we're gonna say file export selection. Got it set to FBX export. That's what I want. My include options. No, my geometry. I want my tangents and binomials. I believe smooth tangents, yes. Smoothing groups, yes. Okay, that's gonna do it. I want to click animation. This is a must because we're gonna bring all of our rig information. Do not bake though. And then we want skins and blend shapes. And let's see. And then my FBX version, that should be down in. So I'm gonna set it to, let's set it to ASCII, and then 2020 is fine. We gotta choose a name. First, let's go to the right drive. Meta Magneto head. Sure. Okay. All right. So order of operations: select the root, select hierarchy, then grab your geometry. Export. Make sure animation is on, and your blend shapes. You definitely want to send your blend shapes because that is the entire rig logic. Well, it's not the rig logic, but it is how they use Apple AR Kit for the facial capture, and those blend shapes are that's how they drive the Apple AR Kit animation. So if you want to use your MetaHuman animator, you have to have the blend shapes. All right, I'm not gonna make you watch me export this. This may take a while. I'll be back. All right, that didn't take too long. So now let's export the body. Alright, so I want to show my DHI body root. I'll hit H to unhide it, show joints, and let's hide the head skeleton. And I can hide the Magneto helmet and head LOD0. I don't need that extra information. I can even, okay. Alright, so same thing. Let's grab the root, say select hierarchy, and then I can, now in the outliner, I can grab, did I send, I think I did. I hope I grabbed those eyebrows. So I can hit, let's see, I'm just gonna start grabbing geometry. Oh, it's not gonna work because I've got my suit set to reference mode. There we go. And that's everything. Okay. So let's say File, Export Selection. I've got my FBX settings set now. So we had Meta Magneto Head. This will be Meta Magneto Body. I'm just going to delete the .fbx. And there we go. So this shouldn't take as long. We do not have any blend shapes on this. And there we go. Awesome. Okay, so let's, I'm going to save one more time. I'm not going to make you watch me do that though. And then I'll open up Unreal and we'll get this guy all set up in Unreal. Alright, so I've opened up Unreal and I've opened my the same Unreal that I did my mesh to MetaHuman. That's not it's not a must that we do that. What we do have to do is we need to import our MetaHuman that we did make with the mesh to MetaHuman, the same one that we turned into our character. So when we did the bridge to Maya and sent that MetaHuman over, we want to open the same one. It's not 100% necessary, but it makes things a lot easier. So let's just kind of streamline things and open that same MetaHuman. So I'm going to go into my content browser. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say add Quixel content. It's going to open up Bridge and might ask me for my login. All right, so it recognized me. Okay, so what I want to do is go to my MetaHumans and I'm going to say my MetaHumans. And if we remember, it was Meta Magneto. Now, just because we downloaded the MetaHuman into our standalone bridge does not mean it was downloaded into the bridge that is connected to an Unreal Engine. So we've got to download it again. I'm just going to hit yes. Okay. So it was MetaMagneto 2 is the one that I had used for this tutorial. So at medium quality, I'm going to say I don't need highest quality because this is a stylized character. I'm not going to be using the normal maps. I'm not going to be using the skin texture or anything. So I'm going to leave it at medium just so the download's faster. If you are going to use the skin textures in any way, I would recommend highest quality. Um, there's a way to use the skin textures and kind of remix them, bring them into Photoshop and edit them. You can bring them into ZBrush and you can edit them there too. So I'll be doing a tutorial on that too, on customizing MetaHuman skin and making it look a little more realistic. These MetaHumans are great and they're an awesome starting point, but you can kind of tell that something's a MetaHuman right off the bat. So I'll be doing some future tutorials on how to customize them and get them a little farther down into that handmade art look. All right, so I'm going to keep it at medium quality and I'm going to say download. And we will be back when this is downloaded. All right, so I've opened up Unreal, and I've opened my the same Unreal that I did my mesh to MetaHuman. That's not it's not a must that we do that. What we do have to do is we need to import our MetaHuman that we did make with the mesh to MetaHuman, the same one that we turned into our characters. So when we did the bridge to Maya and sent that MetaHuman over, we want to open the same one. It's not 100% necessary, but it makes things a lot easier. So let's just kind of streamline things and open that same MetaHuman. So I'm going to go into my content browser. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say add Quixel content. It's going to open up Bridge and might ask me for my login. All right, so it recognized me. Okay, so what I want to do is go to my MetaHumans, and I'm going to say my MetaHumans. And if we remember, it was MetaMagneto. Now, just because we downloaded the MetaHuman into our standalone bridge does not mean it was downloaded into the bridge that is connected to Unreal Engine. So we've got to download it again. I'm just going to hit yes. Okay. So it was MetaMagneto 2 is the one that I had used for this tutorial. So at medium quality, I'm going to say I don't need highest quality because this is a stylized character. I'm not going to be using the normal maps. I'm not going to be using the skin texture or anything. So I'm going to leave it at medium just so the download's faster. If you are going to use the skin textures in any way, I would recommend highest quality. There's a way to use the skin textures and kind of remix them, bring them into Photoshop and edit them. You can bring them into ZBrush and you can edit them there too. So I'll be doing a tutorial on that too, on customizing MetaHuman skin and making it look a little more realistic. These MetaHumans are great and they're an awesome starting point, but you can kind of tell that something's a MetaHuman right off the bat. So I'll be doing some future tutorials on how to customize them and get them a little farther down into that handmade art look. All right, so I'm going to keep it at medium quality and I'm going to say download. And we will be back when this is downloaded. All right, so I have downloaded my MetaHuman and now I want to add it to my Unreal project. I'm going to, again, just say add Quixel content. All right. Why is my text is like incredibly big? This is weird. All right, so here's our MetaMagneto 2. Now you can see the instead of a green download button, let's see, like I've got for these guys. Interesting. Okay. Well, I've got a blue export medium quality. I'm going to click that, and that is going to start the process of importing this MetaHuman into my Unreal Engine scene. All right, so it says it's done. I'm going to go ahead and close bridge. I'm going to control spacebar to open up, and I can see I've got my MetaHumans. If I go to MetaMagneto right now, I'm going to open this blueprint. I have a feeling I'm going to see a bunch of plugins that are going to need to be activated. There we go. Yeah, sometimes they take a while. I want to enable missing on all of these. So right here is going to be my control rig. Yes. This is going to be my skin shaders. You can see it's a GPU skin, unlimited bone influence, compile your shaders. It's a skeletal mesh 2. Let me say enable missing on that. And then this is going to be our hair. It says groom right there. I'll say enable missing on that. Now it's going to want me to restart. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just a little side note, if you want to use a MetaHuman in Unreal VR, you actually can. I have been able to use a MetaHuman, get animation out of it. And yes, I've been able to load a MetaHuman into a VR project. You do not want to activate the skin shader though. The skin shader will automatically it'll crash your VR project immediately. So you can use a MetaHuman in VR. You cannot use a MetaHuman skin shader. I mean, the last time I tested it out, that was how it went. That may be something that gets solved. I know the skin shader is extremely complex, right? It's got subsurface scattering and all kinds of really complex computations going on. So it makes sense that for a VR project, it wouldn't work at this time. Anyway, I'm going to restart now. And this shouldn't take too long. And there we go. It says new plugin available. I'm just going to type in MetaHuman. No, that's going to, okay. All right. It says something was closed. It was just my blueprint editor. All right, so now that I have imported the MetaHuman that I created from my MetaHuman creator, and this is the one that I also used in Maya to attach my bones to the body, to use my blend shape on the face. So these are relatively similar, right? On my next MetaHuman tutorial, I'll show you how to make stuff that's less similar, right? Maybe we'll make a Hulk or a giant or an ogre, something that has very different proportions than a standard MetaHuman. But for this one, we want to keep them as close as possible, right? So I'm just making sure that I'm importing the MetaHuman that I used as the base mesh in Maya, okay? So I'm going to go to my content browser. I'm going to right click. I just want to make a new folder to keep things nice and clean. Just going to name it Magneto, and this is where I'm going to import the head that I exported from Maya and the body that I exported from Maya. So I'm going to say import game asset. I'm going to start with the head first. And the reason I'm going to start with the head first is it's just the more complex of the meshes. So I'm going to select my FBX that I exported. It's going to take a second to recognize it, and then it's going to notice that it is a skeletal mesh. Okay, so I've got skeletal mesh, yes, import mesh, of course, and I need to target it to my MetaHuman skeleton. That's why we imported our MetaHuman first, because we need to target it to that skeletal mesh, all right? And I'm going to target it to the face archetype skeleton. You can see here we've got MetaHuman base scale. That's going to be the body. The sneaker skeleton, I don't know why the shoes and the flip-flops have two different skeletons. Anyway, this is going to be our body, the MetaHuman base skeleton, and face archetype skeleton is going to be our MetaHuman face skeleton. Okay, so I'm going to select that. I'm going to make sure I open up advanced, and I need to have import morph targets set to on. That's going to allow us to import all of those morph targets that we made to change the shape of the face and the position of the teeth. All right, so I'm ready. I'm going to say import all. Now, if you hadn't created that or duplicated your skeletal mesh that is a part of your body to use the root up to spine 3, right now when it's importing, it would give you an error. If you get an error that bones didn't get imported right or something like that, it's usually a problem. All right, I've got my eyebrows. They had a separate texture. I've got my helmet. And here's my skeletal mesh, so I can double click it to open it. I also have my eye shader and my shader for my left and right eye, my head, my teeth, and my saliva. That's great. Those all came from the MetaHuman, and I'll replace them with the MetaHuman stuff for now. Once I export my custom painted textures, I'll use those. So I'm going to just go ahead and save all, and that'll just save all of these guys. And instead of working on the blueprint right away, now it's saying that the following bones are missing from the bind pose. That's just the bind pose, and I could have in my, let me just open up my, if I click my root, let's just show joints. I can see bind pose 2. If that's an issue at all, I can go into my mel script and I can say delete bind pose 2. Now you need to make sure it's just the exact same name as whatever bind pose, and that'll get rid of that bind pose, which I'm almost positive it's not going to cause a problem, but that problem is saying that there's bones missing from the bind pose, and I don't think it's going to be an issue. But anyway, if it is an issue, that's the way to do it. In your mel, just delete and then spacebar and the name of the bind pose. Sometimes you'll have problems rigging, and if there'll be multiple bind poses, and there'll be some kind of conflict. So that's a way to get rid of those as well. And all right, so I've saved my head mesh, and I might want to make a head and body folder just to kind of keep things cleaner. Yeah, I think I will. So in my Magneto, I've got a subfolders. Let's say I'll keep the head on the top folder and just make a body folder. How about that? Let's open that and import game asset going body 02. All right, so we didn't create any morph targets for the body. Sometimes you would want to. Maybe you've got spikes coming out of the body or something. well, this is a completely different topology and geometry than the MetaHuman, but let's say you created some blend shape that changes the MetaHuman body, then you would want this. It doesn't matter with this. I'm going to leave it on. And then my target skeleton is going to be that MetaHuman base scale. And we're good to go. I'm going to say import all. Following bones. Okay, so it's missing. This can happen for bones that are not vert weighted. Please set the use TO as ref pose. Oh, and you know what? I'm going to re-export this body because I've got it in my T pose and I want it in the MetaHuman pose. So let's try that again. And then I'm gonna delete the, so I don't want the root, well, I want the root driver for a second because my root driver is controlling my DHI root, my body root position, because the driver is the driver skeleton. The root is what our mesh is our skin is bound to. So I'm going to grab my body root. I'm going to say select hierarchy. Well, first, yeah, let's do select hierarchy. I'll delete that key, and then I will there we go. Delete that key, and I'll set all of my rotates to 0. It says is locked. Huh. Oh, it might have grabbed the body root instead. Yeah, it did. So it accidentally grabbed the body root, and it had all of those parental constraints and whatnot. Okay, so let's say select hierarchy. Oh no, it's got something on it. It has. Okay. All right, well, I know that from my leg down, let's just grab my leg and say, grab this one too. Select hierarchy down. What is going on? Huh. You know what? I'm going to select my hierarchy on this guy, and let's, very interesting. Well, let's delete our bind pose here. Oh, there is no. Oh, it's on the body. That's right. There we go. It was bind pose 1 and bind pose 6. So I'll delete those from the body. Okay, so those bind poses are gone. Now my root driver, I'm just going to grab, let's see if I can at least do my arm. Man, what is it grabbing that's got, that is, okay. What if I just drag select? It's so weird because the, oh, this is extremely strange. Did I freeze my transforms? Should be rotation information on this. There's rotation information there. None there, okay. Let's zero that out. That's what I'm looking for. What is this thing that's got, that's really frustrating. Now the reason I am resetting this to be more like the posed MetaHuman is just so that when I do my retargeting or any kind of animation stuff, it's going to match it better. And I did do this previously, so I'm going to pause the recording and just finish this and go. The weird thing is last time I was able to just select my hierarchy and then just zero these guys out. And the driver rotate Z is the problem. Let's just see where that guy's at. Maybe I can just unselect him and zero everything out. Thigh out. I'm gonna open up this error too. Okay, so it's all these guys. No, that's thigh out R. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording. We'll be back when I fix all this. All right, so I am ready to export. I've got all of my joints rotated. Now this is much closer to the MetaHuman kind of resting position. And that'll just help with retargeting animations, and I think it will help with retargeting animations. I have a feeling that it'll just be easier if it's closer to that MetaHuman, um, resting pose. So I'm going to export to um, the same name, so then I can just import. And I said body 2. So I'm going to replace this, and I don't have any blend shapes, so it shouldn't take too long. Okay, and let's go back, and we can. So we've got our, if you see a yellow, look, it says physical asset, and then we've got our kind of fuchsia. That's going to be our skeletal mesh. So I'll right click on the skeletal mesh, and I'll say re-import. And since I imported with the, all right, I overwrote, is it overwrote or overwritten? The skeletal mesh has been overwritten, so now once I say re-import, it's going to update. That's interesting that it isn't showing. I'm going to open up this skeletal mesh just to see, because the preview is not showing the new body position. And it doesn't have it. Did my, let's try this again. Let's just make sure I've got it fully finished exporting before I go in and try and re-import. That might have been the issue. Okay, it's done. Try that one more time. So I can re-import base mesh here too, actually. I'll do it from here though. Re-import. Huh. It is not moving. Very interesting. All right, well, I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. Let's go ahead and start editing our blueprint. All right, so I'm going to go into my MetaHumans. I'm going to go into MetaMagneto. Now I can start editing this blueprint if I want to. This is what we brought in from Bridge. I'll double click it to open it. I can also right click and duplicate it and work on a duplicate if I'd like. Or I can, do multiple versions. Let's say I want to do one without a helmet and one with hair. So I can have multiple versions of the blueprint. I can also leave the blueprint kind of bare bones and drop it into a level and edit it in the level too, and then it will only be that kind of edit in the level. Now, right now I open up my blueprint, I'm seeing an event graph. Okay, we will be using the event graph. We will be using the construction script too, just for one simple thing. But I want to go to my viewport, and I'm going to see this glorious MetaMagneto, and he's just his underwear. Now you can also see when I move out about here, there's a popping and his face completely changes. That's going to be my LODs. So I can lock my LOD at 0, so that doesn't happen. I could also have in Maya, I could have used blend shapes to alter my LOD 1, 2. I can alter my LODs because the bridge to Maya actually sent head LOD 1. Here it is right here. So if I hide head LOD 0, I can see here's head LOD 1, and then here's head LOD 2, and here's head LOD 3. So they keep getting lower and lower poly. All right, so I could send all of these over to ZBrush and project this guy and bring it back and create a blend shape for all of them so that my head LODs are fixed too. Okay, I'm not going to do that with this one. In this, I can lock it, but now that I'm going to replace it with my other head, I actually don't need to worry about that. So let's fix the face first. I'm going to click on face, and I'm going to go in here into Skeletal Mesh Asset right here, and I'm just going to left click, and it's going to give me a pop down. Now I'm going to grab my MetaMagneto head. All right, so it's going to replace his head. It doesn't have the shaders, and the head is popping out. It actually hasn't changed shape at all. It doesn't look like our previous Magneto. Okay, that's because when it comes in like this, it has none of those blend shapes that we created to change the forms. They're not applied yet, so we need to apply them. Let's go ahead and replace our shaders first, though. So I'll go into, let's see, what's the best way to do this? Let's go, I'm going to double click this guy, and that's just going to open up a couple of different, that's awesome, that's showing me here. Okay. I wanted to access my my MetaMagneto face. So the only reason I'm doing this is just to find it in the folder. I could, open up the MetaHumans and go MetaMagneto and go face. Here he is right here too. So I can double click and open him here. Either way is fine. If I open him here, the reason I want to open him is I just want access to these shaders. So we're going to find the head, MI head synthesized bake. If I click on the magnifying glass icon with the folder, it's going to take me to the folder where that is, and so now I can apply it to, so with it, it's already selected, so I can just say in my head shader, I can just click that and it's going to apply it. All right, so now I can go to this MetaMagneto. Let's do our teeth. Go to the teeth, go to my blueprint, apply it. Now you can't see that because his mouth isn't open, but now we've applied the teeth shader. I'll go here and we'll do our lacrimal fluid. That's just the shiny bits around the teeth, the gums. Let's go there and we'll apply it. And then I just need my left and right eye shader. So we'll go left eye and apply it. And we'll go right eye and apply it. And there we go. He's looking a little derpy, isn't he? He looks like he's kind of like looking out to the... That's not good. Yeah, it's funny. Well, so I'm going to replace these, this eye paint with his custom paint. So the eyes are going to be a little bit bigger. I'm also going to replace the skin shader with a stylized skin paint. So, but you can see just a simple like angle on the eyes, and they look weird. I should have snapped them to the. If you remember, I didn't snap the forward bones to his original eyes, so they're not aiming in the same direction. So like he's looking outward. It's just a simple rotation of like 5 to 10 degrees, and it makes him look really goofy, which of course we don't want with Magneto, but we'll fix that in the when I bring in the painted textures. And I'm not going to be doing that. This is a MetaHuman specific tutorial, so I'm not going to be doing that for this, but I will do a short little recording on me fixing his materials and everything. All right, so let's fix the issue of the face not actually being the same shape. All right, if I go into my Magneto head and go to custom, got custom head here, and I grab this, I can see, there we go, right? That is what we want. So if I have that at 1 and I go back to my blueprint, nothing happens, right? This blueprint doesn't care that I set it to 1 here. And in the blueprint, I replaced his shaders. If I want them to be permanently attached to him, I would go in here and actually replace them here, right? And then save it, and that's going to follow this skeletal mesh everywhere. All right. We're going to leave it at the blueprint level for now. I'm going to just hit compile and save. Okay, so I want the eyes might be an issue because they're not going where I want them to go. Okay. Well, let's fix this. All right, so I want to go into my event graph, and I want to set morph target. So I just typed in MOR for morph, and I want to set morph target face. Okay. So I'm going to plug the end of my event graph into here. I'm going to set my value to 1. So that just means 100%. And now I need the exact name of that morph target. So if I go back to my Magneto head, I can right click any morph target and I can copy names. And now I can just make sure I've got it all selected and hit Control B. Now I don't want this none to be there, and it's really annoying. Okay. Now Control B. So that's custom head. If I compile and save, go to my viewport, there we go. So the eyes are not moved where I want them to be. That is a bit of a problem. Let's do the teeth next. Okay, so go. I've got teeth LOD mesh 0. I should have named this custom teeth, but I'm just going to copy that name. And in my event graph, we want another set morph target. I can duplicate these guys right here. And it's already at 1, so that's an option, or I can just hit tab again and go morph. And I'll grab set morph face again. and then plug this into here. And I've already copied the name, so Control V to paste it and set the value to 1. Compile, save. Back to my viewport. Alright, so the teeth have gone inside the face. The eyes, I'm very curious as to why the eye position is not obeying the joints that I moved, because they should maintain that position. That's very interesting. I may have to create a morph target to get the eyes into the right place. We'll see. Okay. All right, so let's just fix the rest of what we need to fix, and then we'll move on to that. Let's bring in the body. So I'm going to grab the body. I'm going to grab my right here. I'm going to my skeletal mesh, left clicking, and then I can grab my MetaMagneto body. Whoa, that's super creepy. He's got like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre cape. He's just people skin. I don't know why the cape didn't get a. Okay, well, I'll update that later. Now, if I want my, let's say I want my fuzz to follow the head. If I look down here, my fuzz is on the ground. All right, this guy's stylized, so I don't actually want the fuzz to follow the head, but I'm going to show you how to, okay? Just because you may not be doing a stylized character and you're going to want all that fuzz. It's a great amount of work, and it makes your characters look much more realistic. Or let's say your hair, your beard, anything, right, that came along with your MetaHuman that you want to go onto a custom MetaHuman. You just want to go to, I've got my fuzz. I want to go to my where the Peach Fuzz Groom asset lives. So let's go to that folder. And I'm going to right click this fuzz asset, this groom asset, and I'm going to say create binding. And now we're going to target our Magneto head, okay? Source skeleton, we're going to say, is our original mesh that came from our mesh to MetaHuman. So now I'm going to say create. Okay, that didn't do anything, but that's because this binding asset is still going to the original. So now I'm going to go, got this new binding asset, and there it is. So now all that peach fuzz is on the face. Okay, and the same would be true for a beard, eyebrows, hair, any of that. Okay, so you can transfer your grooms to different characters. All right, I'm going to save all. Now our character is actually not done yet. I need to go to his face, and right now if I double click on his face and I go to my animation, you'll see the head is rotating, right? But I'm not getting my facts. I should be getting animation. That's here. I want to look at the AR kit mapping. So right now it's saying neck. I want to click on the AR kit mapping. There's nothing going on here, and that's a problem because we want all of our AR kit animation to be working on this. Okay, so the way that we're going to get and if we don't have this mapped, we won't be able to use the MetaHuman animator. We won't be able to use our iPhone or our iPad to do any facial capture. So all of those tools are broken right now. So what I want to do is I'm going to control spacebar, and we're going to go to my Magneto head. I want to go to my skeletal asset. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say MetaHuman DNA, import DNA file. We're going to go find go to your Megascans library. You're going to go to downloaded and then DHI, and it should be, it'll always be the newest if that's the most recent one you worked on. You're going to go into 8K, MetaHumans, and then their name, then source assets, and then you'll see a .dna file. That's what you want to grab and open. Okay, it's asking what skeletal mesh I want to direct it to. I absolutely want to direct it to this guy, so I'm going to import. DNA files imported successfully. Okay, well, why is it not working? Okay, we still have to do one more thing. I'm going to go down here into I'm going to go to my Magneto head here. Okay, and in my asset details, I'm going to type post, and I'm going to see a post-process anim blueprint. That's set to none. I want to set it to post-process. Grab that. We're going to save it. And if we go back to our AR kit, this is exactly what you want to see. So it's all working now. Now we're not done yet. There's one more thing, well, two more things we need to do. They're the same thing for both assets. We want to connect our my brain is not working right now. There we go. Our control rig. Okay. So it says default animation rig. It says none. We're going to grab this and say face control board. All right. So now it has the MetaHuman control rig connected to the face. I'm going to do the same thing for the body. Let's go to the body and let's go down to our control rig, default animation rig, and I'm going to say MetaHuman control rig. There we go. Okay, so I can save all. And we can test this out. What's my camera speed at? Alright, so let's grab our MetaHuman, pop him into the world, and I'll just set these all to 0. Alright, so here is our What is going on with his face? Let me put that. Oh, I need to compile. There we go. That might have been hopefully that's the problem. That's a little terrifying. No. What is going on? Let's delete that blueprint. Okay. I have no idea why his face is stretching like that. Oh, okay. I think I know why. In the event graph, it's set. I set my morph targets, but it's not playing them. They're not. I need to work with my construction script. That's right. Okay. So first of all, in the event graph, I need to make. I'm going to say custom. We're going to say add custom event. All right, and this is going to be. Let's call it face morph, and we need to plug that into the beginning of our morph target. So let's compile and save that, and then let's go to the construction graph, and I'm going to say tab. Let's just type in face morph. We're going to grab that, and you can name that anything you want. I'm just naming it that. and plug the end of our construction graph into. Let's compile, save that, and hopefully that fixed it. No, it did not. What in the actual hell is going on? I'm going to try one more thing. I don't know why I would be doing this, but I'm going to try it anyway. Let's go to our Magneto head. And I'm just going to type number of LODs. Okay, so it should be locked to one LOD. I'm very confused as to why. Important now. LOD threshold is -1. Okay. Not exactly sure what that means. All right. Okay. Let's delete this guy. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording for a second and try and figure this out. All right, I was able to figure out what the issue was. I also re-imported my cape, so it's not a Texas Chainsaw Massacre cape. The issue was my head bones the names were conflicting. So when I dropped it into my scene, at least, it was seeing the root bone for my body mesh and somehow dragging some of my bones down. So the way that I solved this problem is I went into Maya and I made sure that my head root, I just copied this DHI head prefix. I copied it and put it with my root down to my spine 3 at the prefix as well. And then I re-exported it and that fixed it. So it was having a Unreal was, and this it makes sense. It was a naming conflict though. So the name conflict was causing my character's face to melt. Okay, so we are done. We have a customized, stylized MetaHuman. His eyes are a little funky. I do need to fix those. But let's just test this out in a let's create a where's it at nowadays? It's been a while since I've there we go, cinematics. Yeah, there we go. So let's create a level sequence. And let's just say test nm. Let's open it up. And Here we go. Now I want to add a track and just say actor to sequence and add blueprint metamagneto. Okay, and now I can see my entire control rig. So let's just grab this and see how it's animating. So my control rig's animating. I can bring in any kind of motion capture stuff that I want. You can also see that the weights are pretty nice. I'll do another video. I'm going to paint the, well, there's quite a few out there. I'm going to make this cape simulate, right, from here down. So it can, when he runs, it can move like cloth. All right, so here's my head. And let's get into the most important, the head controls. There we go. Let's grab our awesome. And then very cool. Okay, so we have a working MetaHuman with the control rig and the face controls. I'm going to stop the recording and we'll come back and fix the eyes. That'll be a little bonus, a little extra. So if I close my level sequence, all of that will disappear. All right, I'm going to say save all. And I'll be back to fix the eyeballs. Okay, so let's try and solve this eye problem. Normally, I swear that the eyes, once we move them, obey that rig position, so it's a little bit annoying that they're not in the right spot. I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate these eyes. I'm going to try something a little hacky. We're going to unlock selected. Now I can move, these are the duplicates, right? I can move them to the side. Let's just create blend shapes with these guys. So I'll right click and I'm just going to say, let's name this Custom I underscore L. I'll copy that. Custom I underscore, and just change the name to R. Alright, so now when I create a blend shape, I'm just going to go deform, blend shape, nice and easy. Deform, blend shape. Alright, so we need to re-export our head mesh. I'll select my head root, select my hierarchy. If I go into show and show my joints, we'll see that it's all selected. Alright, I'm just going to unshow my joints. And let's select our head. Just going to control shift, so I'm adding to my selection just to make sure I'm keeping my skeleton selected. You can see it's still selected. Okay, so we've got everything selected. The eyes, now they have a blend shape. Let's say export selection. I'm just going to name it. I'm going to replace that head, yes. And this export takes a while. I'll be back when it's done. Alright, so I have successfully exported my head mesh with my new morph targets for the eyes. I just want to test it out and see if it works. So I've re-imported that head mesh into Unreal Engine. I used, I copied over the old name, so then I just said re-import. All right, so now I can see if I go into my head mesh, I've got my custom IL and custom IR. That's how I know this imported correctly. All right, and it's going to move it, which is great. That should be correct once it's, let's try. All right, so I need to create 2 more morph targets. Let's say morph, set morph target face. And while it's blank, I can just hit Control D, and that'll duplicate. And it still has the target as the face. I'll plug these both in. And let's copy custom IL first. Control V to paste and set it to 1. And we'll copy custom IR. Control V. Set it to 1. Now we can compile and save. And let's go to our viewport. Boom! Fixed eyes. Perfect. Alright, let's see how they look. And he looks well, they're fixed. Okay, I'm gonna import the custom painted eyes, but that did fix them. Okay, so we did need a blend shape for the eyes, unfortunately. But there we go. We have fixed eyes. And we have a custom, completely stylized MetaHuman. All right. So congratulations if you got this far. And I'll be making another tutorial series on making more extreme MetaHuman shapes. Like I think I'll go with an ogre or like a hill giant or something, and kind of go for the giant's face from Game of Thrones, something like that. That's very completely different than any MetaHuman shape. So we're going to try and push it to the extremes and get it to still work. All right, thank you all. Good luck out there and enjoy all the 3D fun.